Hello, welcome everyone tonight to our very special broadcast. I'm Julie Flygar and I'm the president and CEO of Project Sleep, and I'm in Los Angeles. And so excited tonight to have Christina with us. Hey, Christina.
Hey,
And where are you joining us from?
I'm in South Carolina.
South Carolina. All right. As you guys join, please share where you're tuning in from. It's really fun to see where folks are watching from. And please comment and share the video to your page so that we can continue to raise awareness. And also write in comments as Christina is sharing her story tonight. If things are resonating with you, please make comments or ask questions. We will have time for questions at the end. Please just remember, of course, that the video stays public and the comments stay with the video. So you don't want to share anything in the comments that you wouldn't want to share publicly. And of course, if Christina's story tonight gives you any questions about your own medical experience, please just remember that you should bring those questions to your sleep specialist or your doctor, because we're doing this for education and awareness purposes, but of course, we're not doctors ourselves. Let's see, trying to think if there's anything exciting happening at Project Sleep. I feel like there's a lot going on right now. We are gearing up for the Sleep-In. The Sleep-In will be March 18th through the 20th. And that's one weekend where we focus on rest and the importance of sleep in society. And so we'll have a full event calendar coming soon and a scavenger hunt, searching for a good night's sleep. So please stay tuned for more about the Sleep-In. And then let's see, this week we have our NFL player with living with narcolepsy, Josh Andrews. He'll be speaking at a conference here in Los Angeles, the Black Men's Brain Health Conference. So there is an ability to tune in and virtually to watch him speak and share his story for about 15 minutes of living as an NFL player with narcolepsy. So that should be really cool. It's also Black History Month, so we've started doing some profiles on some Black American sleep superstars in our community. So please stay tuned and keep sharing those. And I'm trying to think if there's I'm sure I'm forgetting other things. I think, if you enjoy this tonight and you'd like to become a Rising Voices speaker, like Christina, then the application will be opening on February 15th for next summer's training. So the training happens over the summer, but the application will be opening on February 15th. So really excited to always be learning new stories and working with people on sharing their story. So I think with that, Christina, if you want to go ahead and pull up your slides, I'll introduce you to get started. So let's see. Christina Brundage is a student at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, where she is majoring in public health. Christina was diagnosed with idiopathic hypersomnia at age 24 and is now working towards removing the stigma of sleep disorders. As a trained speaker with Project Sleep's Rising Voices program, she will share her story of learning of her diagnosis, to helping others in their advocacy journeys. Please take it away, Christina.
Hi, thank you all so much for coming tonight or for watching the recording. And again, my name is Christina Brundage, and this is my idiopathic hypersomnia story. So for all intents and purposes, I was a normal kid. I was born in Florida and grew up in North Carolina and Virginia until we settled in South Carolina when I was 12. I'm the youngest of my family. I have 3 siblings, 2 brothers and 1 sister. When I was younger, I always wanted to be a veterinarian. When people were playing with their dolls, I was playing with stuffed animal dogs. I was giving them casts and shots, and my most prized possession was a veterinarian Barbie doll. If you can see in this middle picture, that's me carrying a case of Barbies. And then on this right picture, that's me and my mom and our childhood dog, Henry. I also, when I was in high school, I started competing in a with a club called Health Occupation Students of America, where I competed in veterinary science and won first place in the state of South Carolina 3 years in a row. And I also just, everything in my life revolved around animals, except for playing with baton, riding bikes, reading, and spending time with my friends and family. I never thought I had an issue with my sleep. I thought that sleeping in restaurants, like the picture on the far right, I'm in the Cheesecake Factory using a Yoda backpack as a pillow, or sleeping on the concrete outside of an airport was normal. I thought that being that tired was like everybody else's sleepiness. Of course, the first strange thing that happened to me that I can remember was around age of 4 or 5, when my family and I went to a neighbor's house to watch the 90s movie Twister. During the movie, I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I realized that my family had left me at my neighbor's house, and I was absolutely terrified. I jumped up, I ran to the front door, and I started screaming and crying and banging on the front door, trying to get out, just trying to get back home to my family. It wasn't until my mom wrapped her arms around me that I realized I was at home. I wasn't left at the neighbor's house. I was at home the entire time. And I just didn't realize where I was when I first woke up. That's actually happened to me as an adult as well. I just am able to calm myself down now instead of trying to escape. While I was in school, I always fell asleep in class. During the summer, I fell asleep the entire day until my mom came home from work. And I always fell asleep before and after getting to school on the bus. One time when I was on the bus, a girl who had been picking on me sat beside me, and my head fell on her shoulder at a point, and she very loudly proclaimed that if my head touched her shoulder one more time, she was going to shove my head in between my knees. While all of the other kids laughed, I started feeling that I wasn't safe and started a fear of falling asleep around people that I didn't trust. When I graduated from high school, my dad and I went to New York. This is us in the middle picture. We're in a pizzeria eating some New York style pizza. We had the time of our lives. We went to so many places. It was just a really, really fun time. Our trip out was really early in the morning. So my dad and I decided that we were going to stay up all night and see what happened in the city that never sleeps. We checked our baggage into our hotel for them to hold it until we were ready, and we set out. At around 10 o'clock, my dad started noticing that I wasn't beside him anymore, and he would look behind him, and I was there dragging, just half asleep, but trying to trudge along. After a while, he decided that I wasn't making it and we needed to kind of call it a night. I tried telling him that I would continue going forward because I didn't want to ruin the night, but in the end, he prevailed and we went back to the hotel to get our luggage. While my dad was checking out the luggage, I fell asleep in the very hard and uncomfortable hotel couch. Once we got our luggage, we started walking to try to find a cab that would take us to LaGuardia. The idea being that we would just get to the airport and sleep at our terminal until it was time. We finally, as we were walking, my dad realized that I wasn't beside him, and he started hearing this terrible grinding, crunching noise behind him. When he turned around, it was me. My luggage had fallen to the side and was grinding against the concrete, and I just did not realize. I was basically asleep, just mechanically walking. So he took my luggage from me, so I wouldn't mess it up. And he kind of pushed me along until we found a cab that begrudgingly took us away from the nightlife to LaGuardia. Unfortunately for us, we did not realize that LaGuardia is not a 24-hour airport. It closes. And so we got to the airport, the closed airport, and we had nowhere else to go. So before my dad could kind of think of a plan of what to do, he looked beside him, and I was asleep on the concrete and dead to the world. So he ended up staying awake for the entire night until the airport opened, so he could watch over me while I was sleeping. The last kind of weird thing that happened to me was when I was in college. I was in a microbiology class, and I was taking very intensive notes. When I left the class, I realized that I could not remember anything that had happened. I could not tell you one thing that I had learned. When I looked back on the notes, it was like somebody else had written them. And that made me really, really scared. So I went to my doctor to ask him what he thought was going on. And he told me that he thought maybe I had adult ADHD, and he prescribed me a stimulant to take. I didn't think I had adult ADHD. And so I didn't take it. I just trudged along trying to figure out how to manage this memory lapse a little better in my continuing classes. Funnily enough, my road to diagnosis started when I went to a new dentist. When I went for my first appointment, he started asking me a lot of questions about my health, and more specifically, how I felt after I slept. I told him that it felt like I had never slept. Every time I woke up, it felt like I had just blinked. He noticed that my tonsils were larger than normal, and due to chronic strep infections as a child, and said that potentially I had sleep apnea and I should look into getting my tonsils removed. I went to my primary care doctor, and he told me that I should go to an ear, nose, throat doctor to look into getting my tonsils removed. When I went to that doctor, they said that they could remove them, but if I wanted to, I could get a sleep study done first just to confirm that that was the problem. Because removing your tonsils as an adult can be kind of an invasive surgery, it's a lot worse than when you're a kid, I opted for the sleep study instead. When I went to the sleep doctor, I explained to him what my dentist said, what the ear, nose, and throat doctor said, and what my symptoms were. He told me that he definitely wanted to do an overnight sleep study to check for sleep apnea, but he also wanted to do a nap study to check for narcolepsy. I remember calling my mom after the appointment and laughing because I thought that there was no way I would have narcolepsy or any other kind of sleep disorder. The only thing that I knew about narcolepsy was how it's portrayed on TV, which is as a comedic relief. So when the sleep study came, the night of the sleep study, I was really looking more towards either sleep apnea or having no problems at all. My sleep tech told me that if I did have sleep apnea, they would wake me up in the middle of the night and put a CPAP machine on me to help open my airway. When I woke up the next morning, I didn't have a CPAP machine. And so I assumed that I was normal on that end. And then came the nap study. The nap study was very frustrating to me. I could not sleep for any of the naps. There were supposed to be 5 of them, but they sent me home after 4. But after every single one, I just laid there, not being able to sleep, just wondering why I was wasting my time and their time. And what was even more frustrating was in between the naps, I was having a hard time staying awake. When I went back to the doctor for my recheck to get my results, again, I just assumed that he would tell me that there was nothing wrong with me, the thing that I thought my entire life. However, he told me that during those naps, I actually fell asleep every single time. It took me on average 4.5 minutes to fall asleep, whereas somebody who doesn't have any issues with their sleep, it should take them 15 minutes to fall asleep. After telling me that, he said the sentence that completely changed my life: "You have idiopathic hypersomnia." He gave me a stimulant medication, and then unfortunately, that's all he did. He told me that he would see me in 6 months, and he left. After that appointment, I went home feeling ashamed. I was very confused. I didn't understand what I had, but I did feel like there was something wrong with me and potentially something that I had caused. So going home, I wanted to do more research because, again, I didn't even really remember what he diagnosed me with until I got a chance to go online and look at my results again. Unfortunately, I did not take any pictures when I was there originally because I didn't foresee anything happening, but these pictures are in the middle. That is for an overnight study. And then the two on the ends, those are for nap studies. When I got home and started doing research, I found that narcolepsy and hypersomnia are kind of like a family. They're kind of cousins. They're both chronic neurological disorders that impair the brain's regulation of the sleep-wake cycle. They're both under-recognized and misunderstood. Narcolepsy is a chronic neurological disorder that impairs the brain's ability to regulate the sleep-wake cycle. It affects 1 in 2,000 people, which is roughly 200,000 Americans and 3 million people worldwide. Whereas idiopathic hypersomnia affects 1 in 20,000 people, so it's about 10 times rarer than narcolepsy. And the most common method to diagnose both of them is a polysomnogram, which is the overnight sleep study, and then the multiple sleep latency test, which is the nap study, daytime nap study. Hypersomnia symptoms are excessive daytime sleepiness, which is not eased by a full night's slumber, which is why I never feel like I've slept. With this, even long naps result in feeling no better or worse upon waking than when falling asleep. If you remember, during my nap study, I didn't even think I slept. Sleep inertia, which is the transitional state after waking with a desire to return to sleep and feeling foggy. So I do attribute my waking up and not realizing where I am to sleep inertia. Again, it's something that still follows me into adulthood. And then also disrupted nighttime sleep. Narcolepsy symptoms can vary by person and may include excessive daytime sleepiness, which is periods of extreme sleepiness during the day that feel comparable to how someone without narcolepsy would feel after staying awake for 48 to 72 hours. Cataplexy, which is the striking sudden episodes of muscle weakness, usually triggered by strong emotions such as laughter, exhilaration, surprise, or anger. The severity may vary from a slackening of the jaw or buckling of the knees to falling down. The duration may be for a few seconds to several minutes, and the person remains fully conscious, even if unable to speak during the episode. Hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucinations, which are visual, auditory, or tactile hallucinations upon falling asleep or waking up. These can be frightening and confusing. Sleep paralysis, which is the inability to move for a few seconds or minutes upon falling asleep or waking up. It is often accompanied by hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations. It's important to know that people without narcolepsy can experience these hallucinations and sleep paralysis. And in fact, about 1/3 of all people experience these at some point in their lives, usually during periods of high stress or poor sleep. For people with narcolepsy, these are much more frequent and consistent over time. Disrupted nighttime sleep. Unlike public perceptions, people with narcolepsy do not sleep all of the time. Timing of sleepiness is off with narcolepsy, so one may fight sleepiness during the day, but struggle to sleep at night. There are two forms of narcolepsy: narcolepsy with cataplexy and narcolepsy without cataplexy. Recent research suggests that narcolepsy with cataplexy is caused by a lack of hypocretin, a key neurotransmitter that helps sustain alertness and regulate the sleep-wake cycle. Less is known about narcolepsy without cataplexy. Again, to diagnose both hypersomnia and narcolepsy, you have a 24-hour sleep study that includes the nighttime sleep study, the polysomnogram, and the daytime multiple sleep latency test. There is one nighttime medication approved for the treatment of hypersomnia, and narcolepsy medications are also used. Treatment for symptom management varies widely by person, but may include wake-promoting, histamine-directed, or stimulant medications to increase alertness in the daytime, nighttime medications to increase wakefulness and reduce cataplexy in people with type 1 narcolepsy, antidepressant medication to decrease occurrence of cataplexy in people with type 1 narcolepsy, and scheduled daytime naps. Coping strategies vary wildly by person, but may include social support such as meetup groups or social media, and improvement in general health and wellness through sleep hygiene, diet, and fitness. Myself, through my research, I found the Hypersomnia Foundation, and through the foundation, I found the CORDS registry, which puts you in contact with clinical trials. And I also found Facebook support group sites that had a lot of information on what to do after diagnosis, which really helped me. After I was diagnosed, the stimulant that I was given wasn't working. I tried calling my doctor and getting in contact with them several times, but they just weren't answering me. So I went back to the Hypersomnia Foundation's website and to their provider directory, where I found my new doctor. I set up an appointment, and my first appointment was absolutely phenomenal. He spent about an hour in there with me going over everything that he knew about hypersomnia. He was drawing diagrams. He was showing me graphs, and he made sure that I had every question that I possibly could have answered. At the end, he prescribed me a new stimulant that did work for a couple of years, but ended up waning on its effectiveness. So after that, I got a new stimulant, and we've been kind of working with medications and doses ever since. The one that I'm on now it's not perfect, but it does help me live my life how I need to. With medications, I have done 6 clinical trials to help get a medication to the market for people with hypersomnia. I do it because I feel like it's my duty. I'm able to, I meet all of that criteria. And so if I can do something, even if it doesn't help me, but it helps everybody else, I think that's really important. Like I said previously, leaving my appointment, I felt very ashamed. And so for 2 years, I didn't tell people about my diagnosis. I was afraid of what they would say. Would they tell me that I was lying? Would they call me lazy? It was a very stressful time. However, when I decided to start sharing my story, I found great support. My friends and my family are just phenomenal, and they helped me so much to the point where I never knew how much I needed their support until I had it. My husband and I met in 2014 at an internet cafe. He unintentionally stole my seat, which resulted in me forcing him to talk all night. 5 years later, we were married, and we have been together for 7 now. We have 3 dogs. In this far left picture, that's us on our wedding day. The middle picture is 2 of our dogs. That's Max on the left. He's our golden mix. And then Sketch on the right. He's our greyhound. And then on the far right, this is our newest old boy. His name is Bees, and he's a Beagle mix. We love going out in the outdoors. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of strength to sometimes. So we also like binging TV. We just finished Hawkeye, and we are watching Shang-Chi next and Eternals. So we should be caught up on all things Marvel soon. I still like doing things that I enjoyed doing when I was younger. I ride my bike. I just don't ride too far. I love reading. I just have to put the book down after a while. Otherwise, I will fall asleep with it. And I also really love hanging out with my friends and my family, except not too early or not too late. And luckily, again, everybody knows me and knows my stories. So if I'm off in the corner taking a nap, that's just me, that's just Christina, and they're okay with that. Throughout my journey, I have found how important it is to speak up about my health. I have created a 30-second elevator pitch to my doctors, especially ones that I have never met before. One of the big reasons is for them to understand that people coming in who are taking stimulants, it doesn't always mean that they have ADD or ADHD. Stimulants can be used for other diagnoses. And I also realized that having a diagnosis helps me not only understand my health, but understand my limits. If I'm ever feeling overwhelmed, I can kind of take a step back, look at my goals, and think of the ways that I can actually meet them without getting overwhelmed. I am very big into organizing. I write lists everywhere. I have probably 10 lists going on right now. And I have planners. I have 3 different planners that I keep track of everything with. And that's just because I know my memory isn't the best. So I have found ways to make sure that I can remember. I decided a while back that I was changing my path from wanting to be a veterinarian to going into public health. So I'm now getting my bachelor's in public health from USC Beaufort, and I'm hoping to graduate in 2023. After that, I'm hoping to either work with the FDA, work in rare disease research, or work with a patient advocacy organization. I started last year the South Carolina support group for people with hypersomnia. We meet on every 3rd Thursday of the month. And so if anybody in South Carolina is interested, or if you know somebody who lives in South Carolina who could use the help, please look us up on Facebook, or you can contact me afterwards and I'll get you in gear. I joined the Patient Advisory and Advocacy Council for the Hypersomnia Foundation last year, and I am now the new coordinator. I do hope to someday be on their board though, so I'm really looking forward to that in the future. And I've also joined the Young Adult Representatives of RDLA, and RDLA is the Rare Disease Legislative Advocates. Through them, I've been able to meet with my legislators and talk with them about my story and how important rare disease legislation is. So I'm hoping to work with them more in the future to not only help people with sleep disorders, but also the rare disease community in whole. Something really exciting that's coming up with them is Rare Disease Week on Capitol Hill, which will be February 22nd to March 2nd. And that is, again, that's going to be a lot of information on legislative meetings, and then it'll end with legislative meetings. It takes roughly 8 to 15 years between symptom onset and diagnosis for people with narcolepsy and hypersomnia. And over 50% of people with narcolepsy are currently undiagnosed or mismanaged. In a way, I feel lucky. Yes, my symptoms started around 4 or 5, and I was diagnosed when I was 24. So that is about 20 years. However, when I first started looking into reasons for my sleepiness, it took from that starting the search to getting diagnosed, it was 6 months. I do look back and think when maybe there were times that I could have been diagnosed previously, like when I went to my primary care provider about not remembering class notes, and he told me I had ADHD. However, I never thought that my sleep was a symptom, so I never pushed for anything like that to be looked into. I share my story for those people that are undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. You know, if there is somebody who thinks just like me that they don't have a problem with their sleep and they hear my story, that might push them to go talk to their doctors to see if they do have something going on. I also want to destigmatize narcolepsy and hypersomnia. I struggle with my own mental health. And I never want anyone feeling like I did, feeling alone, feeling ashamed, or like there's no way out. So if you're searching for a diagnosis, if you're newly diagnosed, or if you've been diagnosed for a while, I want you to know that you're not alone. There are people like myself who are here for you to talk to vent to, anything. We're here. I'm sharing my story today as part of the Rising Voices in Narcolepsy, a program of the nonprofit organization Project Sleep. Project Sleep empowers patient advocates to share their stories and improve public understanding of narcolepsy, idiopathic hypersomnia, and other sleep disorders. Thank you for listening to my story, and I'm ready for any questions.
Yay! Thank you, Christina. What a powerful presentation. You are a fantastic speaker. And there was just so much that resonated with me. I don't know if you saw me like nodding and smiling big over here, but it's just a fantastic presentation. So folks, please send in some questions on the Facebook Live. I have that up here so I can see if you guys have questions for Christina. I'll start with a few of my own. So well, my first question, so you have Max, you have Sketch, and then is it Bees?
Yeah, so his name is Beesturger. That's his government name, but yeah, he goes by Bees. So.
So are they good nap buddies, or are they kind of more disruptive?
Bees is the best nap buddy. So he will, I joke that he wants to get as close to you as possible. If he could cut you open and climb inside of you like a tauntaun, he would. So he's really good as a nap buddy. But the other two, they're not very cuddly. So.
Okay. Well, then good that Bees is the new addition.
Yes.
They're so cute. So 3 dogs. Wow. That's inspiring to me. I'm dog crazy right now. I really want to get a dog. So I love seeing that. So you made the switch to go into public health. And I think that's so cool. Lauren, who's our program manager at Project Sleep, she has her MPH, and I have so much respect for people that are in that field. So how did you, I know a little bit, but can you just share a little bit more about what excites you about your public health and what you're learning?
Yeah, so everything really about public health excites me. I keep finding, environmental health going through classes, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if that's going to be exciting. And then I'm here like doing research and finding out about our rivers. And so it's surprising to me, I think, how interesting it is. And I work as a safety officer currently. So, getting that like worker safety and health side, I think is really interesting as well. And I decided, seeing the void of representation with public health, like the rare disease side, really pushed me to going into it.
That's awesome. Well, we're so excited to cheer you on, over many years to see all the great work that you're going to be doing. So we have great questions here coming in on Facebook. So let's see. So the first question was, what would be your best advice for a newly diagnosed teenager?
So newly diagnosed, for one, if you're the teenager, I would definitely get your parents on board. So I know the Hypersomnia Foundation has an entire section on education for schools. So, once your parents understand, then you can go to your school and give them education on it as well. So if you need help, if you need extra time to do things, that they'll know how to kind of move forward with that. So I would definitely make sure your parents are on board, and then make sure your school's on board as well.
My own kind of follow up on that is like, you talked a lot about that, like, I had the same experience with like shame or not, what does this mean to my identity? This new diagnosis. Was there any like turning moment in that for you? Or do you think it was just a process over time when you kind of changed your thinking about that?
So going back to the Hypersomnia Foundation, it was actually them. I was on the board and on the Facebook group, and started asking about like fundraisers, and a board member from the foundation got in contact with me because she was doing a fundraiser, and just kind of starting working with her. And she opened up a lot of stuff for me. So that just started, she helped change my perspective. So.
That is so wonderful to hear. All right. So Matt has a question here. Matt was wondering, what is your favorite aspect of legislative advocacy?
Ooh. I think my favorite is watching the legislators change their minds, or like them choosing to co-sponsor something because of your story. I think that it makes me feel powerful. It makes me like I've helped change something for the better.
That's so awesome. I love what you're doing there. So it's so important. Amy is curious if any of your other siblings are sleepy too.
One of my brothers has sleep apnea. But other than that, my two oldest siblings are my half siblings. So, with my dad, and my mom actually got diagnosed with hypersomnia, roughly maybe about a year ago. So if it's a genetic link, then it's probably from her side.
Interesting. Let's see. I think that's the questions that are on the Facebook. I was going to ask you as well, like how you found out about the Rising Voices program and getting involved here.
So the Hypersomnia Foundation, again, I know they've worked with Project Sleep before, and they've shared Project Sleep posts, and so that, and then researching narcolepsy and hypersomnia, Project Sleep is one of the first ones that comes up. So all of that together, I think I started with the sleep in last year, and then learned about the Rising Voices, and thought that was something great and something that I wanted to do.
I'm so glad you did. I think there's so many parts to your story. Especially that trip to New York, is pretty unforgettable.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Well, is there any, I was going to ask you also like what kind of advice you would have for someone, but it sounds like, we got that question. So is there anything else you want to share before we head out for the night?
Not that I can think of. I'll put my email later on into the Facebook comments, just in case anybody does have any questions that they want to ask, or if they have a friend or a family member that wants to join the group but doesn't have Facebook, they can give that to them, and I can help them that way.
Well, we did have one person comment that I guess they're going to have to move to South Carolina to be part of the group. So
we do have a lot of good groups around, but Yes, that's, thank you.
Yeah. Well, just thank you so much for what you're doing. I think it's incredible. And we just it just gives me so much energy and so much hope for the future to have people like you raising your voice and all that you're doing. So thank you again for sharing tonight and being part of this. And thank you to everyone. Oh, we do have one more question. Have you been diagnosed with any autonomic dysfunction?
No, not yet. It's always, I feel like I'm very in tune with my body. So, trying to go and get doctors' opinions and questions, but I have not been diagnosed with anything else yet. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. This has been a great group. Thank you, Rebecca, for tuning in. I have a feeling she's, been part of your journey over at the Hypersomnia Foundation. So we're so grateful for all of you guys. And we will see you again soon. And a big thanks to Lauren, our program manager, of course, who's trained Christina and got her ready for this. I just feel lucky to be here and be part of this. And please, folks, if you can, share the video to your page because it does help us raise more awareness. The more people share, the more that Facebook thinks it's interesting, which we know it is, and important. So please share and hearts, and we'll see you again soon. So thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.